Often you can gain passwords or various critical information by sniffing usernames and information off the wire. And what that means is placing yourself in line between a user and the authenticating resource. Now, a great example of this would be in most enterprise networks, users use the same username and password across often several dozen different authentication mechanisms. One of those is bound to communicate in plain text. So if you steal that, you can now authenticate to anything that user could. So sniffing plain text passwords is definitely an effective measure, even in companies today. You can also gain encrypted hashes of those passwords through the sniffing process and pass those into the password cracking techniques we discussed earlier. So once we've gotten the hash, we're going to load it into the hash generator or the brute forcer, however you want to call it. We're going to load it into that password cracker and see if it can come up with anything. Sometimes passwords can take weeks, days, months, hours, or even seconds, but you can give it your best shot and hopefully break into it. And as we've mentioned before, these duplicate hashes are going to provide us with an indication that that match has been placed. So by generating them basically backwards, we're able to determine which one's going to be the password. Let's take a quick look at an example of password cracking that I'd like to show you. One of the more popular tools used out there today is something called Kane Enable. And I'm actually only going to be using the Kane portion of the program, but effectively it's a sniffer that tracks information on the wire. And I've actually had it running throughout the entire title so far. And as you can see, we've gained quite a few accounts. We've got passwords for FTP, 3 different ones as a matter of fact. We can see we've got anonymous anon at anon.com and even a blank password here. SMB or server message block authentication has been listed out for us, and we've got several instances of this. And we can also see TDS, which is Microsoft SQL authentication. We can see the username SA with a blank password. And we've even got an SNMP password, which is effectively going to be the community string of public. So if we want to gain information about one of these, we simply right-click on it and do a send all to cracker. And if we move over here, we now have these systems added in. So at this point, I can look at this account, which is the administrator account on the XP Attack WS system, and here are various hashes. So we pulled the hash off the wire, and at this point we're ready to go ahead and make an attack on that. And by simply right-clicking on it, I can look at dictionary attacks or brute force attacks or a cryptanalysis attack, which is one of those hybrid attacks we were talking about. But because I know what the password is, I'm going to test it out. And it actually checks out, and you can notice that by the keys that pop up. So if we right-click on this and we want to perform a dictionary attack, then we would need to add dictionary files in, which are our word lists or whatever the case may be. So as you can see, the technology definitely exists out there to crack these passwords and pull them off the wire. This particular piece of software even allows me to explicitly add in hashes from text files or manually type those in, pull them from the SAM file, for example. So lots of options available to me. I don't necessarily have to be on the wire to sniff those out.